I want to talk a little bit about your bio. I want people out in the community, people watching this, to feel bad about what they haven't achieved relative to what you have achieved. You were the valedictorian of your high school class.
Mm-hmm.
You went to Harvard.
Yeah.
You were a Rhodes Scholar.
Yep.
You were a reservist in the military, in the
Navy.
Which branch? The Navy. And then you were deployed.
Yeah, I did a tour in Afghanistan in 2014.
Right.
Yeah.
Make me feel bad about myself just sitting here. I mean, this is it's wonderful resume lines, but beyond that, it shows that you aspire to great things and that you've achieved at a high level. And I mean, I'm not as interested in the education stuff as I am in particular about the military stuff.
Yeah.
Because we're at a moment now where there are a lot of people who served in Afghanistan and Iraq who are cycling back into non-military society,
right,
and are getting involved in office, running for office or public service. There's been it's like a boom, a little boom of this.
Yeah, I'm really energized to see a generation of leaders that's emerging.
And both parties.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean,
and
it's a generation of post 9/11 vets who served in Iraq or Afghanistan. And one reason that I think it's very healthy is that you have a generation of people who, again, politics isn't theoretical for us.
Yeah.
You know, I think where politics is at its most dangerous is when you talk about events or whole categories of people as this kind of abstraction that's over there.
Yeah.
A lot of people will be cruel in the way they talk about, let's say, immigrants or minorities, who would never dream of treating a person that way if they knew them. I think the same thing is what's turned the tables on LGBT issues, is a lot of people realizing that the way they talked about a group in the abstract wasn't compatible with the way they believed people they know ought to be treated.
Right.
And for people who served in the military, you know, this isn't chess pieces. When you see the President of the United States at the UN, you know that you might find yourself carrying a weapon on foreign soil again. Because of that, you're very much aware that your life literally depends on the decisions made by politicians. And so I think it just adds a level of urgency, a level of seriousness. The other thing is, I actually think in a polarized era, it furnishes a way to cut across some of these divisions that shouldn't be dividing us. So just in the way that in the World War II generation, you know, the Navy was a place where somebody like a young John F. Kennedy could find himself on more or less equal terms with the son of a farmer or a Southern African American that he might not have met otherwise.
Right.
And then we got to a period where the reverse was the case, where the military got really skewed towards some classes and not others. Today, I think that's headed back in the right direction, and it means that I think veterans, I certainly find that one of the best chances I have of having a great conversation with an ideological conservative is if we begin by relating over a common experience. When I was downrange, you know, nobody cared. When we were getting into a vehicle that I was driving or guarding, nobody cared whether I was going home to a girlfriend or a boyfriend or you know, where my father had immigrated from. They want to know if I knew how to use my rifle and if I'd studied the route intelligence, right? And that kind of clarity of thinking can be very healthy, and I think it can do a lot of good if more of these vets get elected.